Hey,
We'll
Kevin.
just leave it right here.
Hey, Kevin, what is up with you and sports movies?
I like that kind of college mentality of the interview. What's up with you? And, hey, what's up? I don't know. You know, I never intended to make a sports movie in the beginning, although I love sports and I've played them since I was little. You know, till the street lights came on. That's how I knew I had to go home. And it was baseball, it was basketball, and it was football. So and that cycle never stopped for me. So I have a genuine love of sports, but I love movies even more in the sense that I don't want to make a sports movie unless I think it can become a classic. That doesn't mean it does, but it means I won't start it unless I think it actually has that chance. And I felt that way about Bull Durham, I felt that way about Tin Cup, I felt that way about, you know, Love of the Game and Field of Dreams. And when I read Draft Day, I thought it could very easily take its place among those movies. You know, and the best sports movies are obviously not about sports. They're about girls and boys who do get along and sometimes don't get along and have just a strong desire to be together. And sometimes don't have the words to figure out how to do that.
Do you still think, sir, that Build It and They Will Come is current today?
I know the term you're talking about, and the question was.
I'm sorry, Build It, They Will Come.
Right.
Is it still accurate today?
I think that it is. I think, you know, I mean, you don't know if people will come, but you have to build with people in mind, that you're creating something for them to come to in the dark. If you're talking about movies, and you're talking about even coming to your house, you know, it's like, it's how you treat people. And if you're careful with people, they have a tendency to come back. And you know, and I, you know, listen, I believe that you know, you don't build something for yourself, you build things for people. I make movies, when I read it on the couch, that's for me. But when I go make the movie, it becomes for everybody else.
How do these films do in non-football countries like Europe, like Asia?
Well, you know, on paper they're not going to do well, and you're reminded that when you try to raise money for a film. Oh, it's not going to do well for them. You know, I just made a little movie about racism. Oh, it's not going to do well for them. I said, really? I said, don't be too sure. It's a movie called Black and White. And I think that if you can find the human interest, if you can make a movie not about football, and not just about racism per racism, but make it about human beings who are having difficulty with this very difficult subject, and you find the humor in it as well as the angst, and if you find the poetry in it as much as you find the vulgarity in it, suddenly you have a movie.
Do you have any projects in the works that combine your love of acting and your love of music together?
No, I don't. You know, I don't look to try to do that. If one comes across and I read it on the couch and I think, wow, I could pull this off, I'll do that. But I don't try to plan my career that much. I mean, I plan on making more westerns. That's just the way I like it. I just really like to make them, and they speak to a little bit to the history of our country. You know, we authored that genre into motion pictures, and not many people make them, and I think, you know, I'm just going to have to keep making them.
Will you direct another one?
I will direct it, yeah.
Because Draft Day was 90% voiceover, was it difficult to you playing off another character or another actor?
Oh, well, you know what, Ivan was very careful about making sure that we talked to each other on the phone. So even when they were somewhere else, I was on the phone with them, and vice versa. They all tried to be on the line with me. I've done this enough a couple times where I have a lot of empathy for actors. I said, just go home, I can do this.
What sparked your renewed passion for acting? Because it seemed like you went away for a little while, and then in the last couple of years, you come back really strong. What sparked your renewal and passion for business?
Well, I had 3 children, and my wife said she wasn't going to have any more. She said, you have to go. You have to go out there and make this work. No, but I did take time off with the children. I've been married twice, and I'm really happiest about, you know, not looking back on my first time and thinking, God, I wish I'd have given more time to my children. I know a lot of guys have that, a little level of regret. I was so busy doing my career, I felt like I let that time slip by, and this time I'm going to do it right. I'm not saying I did it right, but I have no regrets. The first half of my career I spent so much time with my children. That was probably my biggest worry being married a second time was, can I give as much to my children this time as I did the first time? So part of having them was, to be around them. I mean, my children really don't even know I'm an actor. They're 6, 5, and 3. They think I live in a trailer.
Kevin, did you approach your TV work with Hatfields and McCoys just as you did film? Was it the same for you?
Yeah, it's just as hard to make a bad film as it is a good one. It's just as hard making a film with low amounts of money it is with gobs of money. They're hard. You get up early and you stay late, and for me, the thing that gives a movie its very best chance to succeed is not really money, it's a script. And there's a giant difference between script and story. People confuse them. Oh, it's a good story, it should make a good movie. Not unless it's a good script. It just doesn't happen that way, and people don't invest enough in the written word.
Kevin, what does this award mean to you?
I don't know. You start off and you just want to work. That may sound very humble, but it's truth. When I decided I was going to be an actor, no one gave me a chance. I certainly didn't know how to explain to anybody how it would work. I didn't even know how it worked. I used to drive my truck in every day to Labreque and Sunset, and that's when ships were still there. And I would park my car right by a phone booth, and I would just go to sleep in my truck, a little Datsun truck, because I didn't know what else to do. I knew I needed to come into Hollywood every day. I just didn't know where to go. I would kind of curl up in kind of a fetal position. I would just kind of sleep. I was just trying to dream of how to get started. And I stayed next to the phone booth because we didn't have cell phones back then. I thought, I'd get the drama log. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew what I wanted to do. And so to think that I'm kind of, attached to that 4-letter word is kind of interesting. But I know how it happened. It happened as a result of great scripts. And my wife thinks I'm charming. My kids kind of do too. But you can't do that for 2 hours on film. You have to be armed with something that moves people in the dark.
You've worked with some incredible directors. What does Ivan Reitman bring to a project?
Well, Ivan, you really want a steady hand, and it's not so much in the shooting of a movie. You want somebody to recognize when the script's good and not to mess with it. You want somebody to stick with that script and not second guess it when you're directing it. And what you really need is a very steady hand in the post-production. I'm not trying to give a lesson on filmmaking, but I want to say that's where most movies, and some of my movies that have disappointed me a little bit, have occurred in post, where a lot of people can get their hands on it, where there's a level of committee, where movies move from being an R to a PG because people say that there's a bigger audience. But the truth is, by softening it, you lost the audience that really could appreciate it, an adult audience. And it's just not about saying the word fuck or watching people make love on screen. Sometimes the truth of something has a vulgarity, and not all movies are made for people, under 17. And so what I liked about Ivan was he protected our movie as it went through that process. He was able to, stand up to a bad idea. A bad idea, doesn't mean somebody's doing it intentionally, but you just need somebody to say no. And sometimes the only person with opinion becomes a majority in a room.
What is it about TV that's drawing power actors like yourself back to the movies?
Well, I think it's script. Those stories have a tendency to play themselves out longer. Motion pictures right now are really in conflict with each other about length, conventional wisdom. The conventional wisdom of a movie is it should be a PG versus an R. The conventional wisdom is it shouldn't be over 2 hours. The conventional wisdom is like blah, blah, blah. It just conventional wisdom you to death. And probably the question you turn around and ask yourself fundamentally is, what if everybody's wrong? Because a movie is an emotional experience. It's not an intellectual one. And I don't know anybody in my whole life that I've sat around and listened to great storytellers around a campfire and said somebody to speed it up. I know some people that told stories around campfires that should never tell a story. They don't know how to do it. But there are some people that take you on a journey to where you get to the end and you go, ah. And I think that's what we love about movies is when we just go, ah.
All right, this is the last question.
On the Man of Steel, how do you feel about the big studios kind of changing some of that source material to appeal to a wider audience as opposed to focusing on the original audience?
Yeah. Well, studios know what they're about. And I have to understand that that's not what I'm about. And that doesn't make them bad and me good or them. It doesn't. That's what they're about. And so you have to live we all operate in a world, and there's like rules. You guys have editors. Your stories get shrunk down. The world is what it is, and the world has turned towards these kind of giant movies. But that doesn't mean I have to stop. It doesn't mean the rock's any easier for me to push uphill. I mean, I just made this movie called Black and White, and I think it's the same movie to me as Dances with Wolves. I think it's a very powerful movie. I think it's very commercial. I think it smells like everything that studios want, which is money. And that's not bad. I don't think artistic and financial things are mutually exclusive. So, yeah.
What's that? Distribution.
Yeah. It's a really good question. That's the thing that scares everybody, and that's the thing that has, I think, created a lot of haves and have-nots. No, I don't have distribution for Black and White yet. So I financed Black and White myself, and I couldn't get anybody to see what I saw in it. And I literally walked into my own den and I looked at my wife and I said, I think I'm going to pay for this movie. And she said, really? And she said, well, if you think that's what you should do, then that's what you should do. And that's a pretty good partner. And I do feel that it's a movie to be seen and a movie to be talked about without trying. It doesn't preach, it doesn't do anything, but it's quite humorous and it's ultimately very poignant.
All right, guys, that's all we have time for.
Thank you.
Thank you.